Alex Answer here, March 3rd, 2016. This is actually a very in-depth topic, and even approaching it almost seems overwhelming. And it's amazing that I haven't made a video about this topic until now. But we're talking about the Archonic influence over Facebook. Of course, we're using that as an example. There is, in general, an Archonic influence over technology, and the internet and technology has connected ways that are separated. People are separated by thousands of miles. Now, energetically, they are connected in another way. And so there are some things that are not necessarily Archonic interference, but there are ways in which people can be adversely impacted by technology. Now, some people use the word troll in general, and you've heard me say that I don't believe it's all that intelligent to fall back on this term troll, even though it is depicting something almost unhuman. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why those that are called trolls, why they're operating with a certain kind of consciousness. And as these videos progress, we're going to talk about the troll consciousness and why you're starting to see, especially in recent years, more multiple personality type of episodes in other human beings. Maybe people that you've known personally, maybe people that have been like regular commenters on your Facebook page or YouTube page, and you're seeing the split in personality. And so I just want this to be kind of an introduction. And I'm noting certain things in my mind. I'm taking note of certain patterns. And I feel that this is the time, now that I've already started talking about the Archons, and I am bringing you information about the Archons with technology and YouTube and Facebook, where the Archons love to hang out. This conversation is not private. My mind has long been scanned. But I don't view the Archons as all-powerful. But I am honest with myself about the role they're playing in destabilizing healthy human friendships, relationships, and communities. They have a job to do, in my opinion. I don't need to cite Gnostic texts or read the Nag Hammadi to you to describe the Archons. For years, let me just say this, for years I've been describing from my own imagination and my own gut feeling the world of the Archons, even if I never said Archons or Archonic. Others prefer Archontic. Even in the way they actually say the term, I follow my intuition. Archonic. I don't see the Archonic influence as something that is really that far separated from human physiology and biology. There obviously is an interface and ways that the Archonic realms easily are able to manipulate our transmitting, receiving aspect of our consciousness. And what they're concerned with is controlling the majority of the human population. They don't have the power to control the minds of all humans. But they do have the power of influence to affect the consciousness and the thoughts and the dreams of those individuals that, say, for example, the person that is not completely under the Archonic spell, the insusceptible, if you will, a term that I've often referred to. I've told a story about looking for a name for a superhero when I was in detention at the age of 12. And I've told the story before about taking a big dictionary this big, opening up the dictionary and putting my finger on a word. And that was going to be my superhero. I mean, it was the first attempt. And the word was insusceptible. And that relates to not able to be easily influenced or controlled. Drew a few panels of the caricature of the superhero, and it was about his powers of the mind. There was literally an Archon. I don't know what the... I don't have the stuff on me anymore. It's in a box somewhere in Oregon. But I think this is the first time I've actually ever really connected the dots between whatever I was drawing at the age of 12. And here I am at the age of 36 talking about Archons. The villain was like some Archon who was running around mind controlling people, like looking in their eyes and shit. And he is insusceptible in one chase scene or whatever. Looks the Archon back in the eyes and shows its superpower. Going from there to here, and what we're talking about right now, I've long determined that the bulk of human consciousness is following this mass wave, this mainstream school of thought. And you can be someone that has already disconnected yourself from the mainstream media. You can be someone that has already gone out into nature. And you can still be controlled by tapping into that mainstream consciousness without even realizing that something has a hold of you. But with regards to nature, nature can be something that can assist us in our grounding and healing process, if that is our intention. So just nature itself doesn't heal and protect us, but the powerful energies and elements that are found within nature, if we choose to use those energies, can be of assistance. This is why, and of course, one thought leads to another. This is why they want to keep people on the grid. That's why they want to control internet access. That's why, literally there are cell phone companies with the balls. If you want to go outside Verizon and AT&T with the balls to ask for $70 for 70 gigs of data, and this is 2016, and this is not a fucking joke. I'm always dealing with the internet and internet issues with regards to my freedom. And it actually is a very serious issue. When you're in a situation when you're dependent on others, that's when the Archonic influence can shine through like the sun. Or like a strange light in the night, which is probably a better example. And I have had hundreds of experiences where people were in a certain mood when they were using technology like Facebook to say, hey, I'm a good person. Hey, let me write this email to you. Tell you I'm a Gnostic. Let me tell you that I'm healthy and such because I've been using this device. It's great. It's great, man. And then you actually meet the real Archon, the person that's been infected with that Archonic consciousness, add a little alcohol, add in some cell phone ELF frequencies, and then you literally have a different personality. I'm not going to talk about this for very long, but I already mentioned it in a previous video. This same person is making reference to cell phone towers and what they might be doing to our consciousness or our body in particular, going more on the physical element and almost fear-mongering that everybody's got cancer around that cell phone tower. What about the consciousness of human beings when they show that they have split personalities and the connection between that and exposure to those types of technologies? Technologies you find in the big cities like Denver, Portland, Miami, Los Angeles, and surrounding areas, even small towns. But to focus our attention on the larger towns, yeah, you have a lot of Wi-Fi. You have a lot of internet options. Yeah, there's a lot of places you can go work and be a slave. Yeah, there's a lot of places you can pay rent and give your energy away. Yeah, there's lots of men to fuck, women to fuck, girls to fuck, boys to fuck. Yeah, these urban environments with all these signals running around. And so a lot of people live their lives vampired on and like vampires in these urban environments. And most of them, due to their heavy exposure to these technologies, are not tapped into their own true thoughts. The Archons, which is a general term, by the way, it also describes Archonic energy. It does not describe a type of alien or a type of being. There are people with levels of sensitivity that can pick up on reptilian energies and robot, cyborg energies, like non-personalities, like drones. Like you can go ahead and spirit and shoot these mother foes back to where they came from, and they could be replaced by a few others if somehow they're still being attracted to that person. And that is a deeper conversation. Being what I consider to be a targeted individual at this point, and seeing people out there that are blaming vans and random neighbors for their archonic interference. Having a little bit of experience with this over the years and seeing people do that shift on me, men and women, women and men, although a lot of them don't really deserve the title of man or woman. There's something more to us than female or male anyways. So this biological spacesuit that we have is vulnerable to Archon hijack. And things like meditation are important as a defense against those things, as well as proper moral action. But why certain people come under attack that are decent people, and why certain things go on so long, what works and what doesn't, that's a deeper conversation, and we'll continue to explore what works and what doesn't. I'm still in a state of learning. Today I feel like I'm in a state of a quickening, of releasing this information to you. And there's a friend of mine who's actually helped me out with certain things as far as web design and others. And there's a number of people that I feel that I've met that are psychically aware. And there's a whole lot of people out there that will claim that they have certain abilities that in fact do not. And there's only two people in my life, one male, one female, both that I've known for several years, at least in this lifetime. And so I've learned a certain amount of things from both of them. And both of them have shown me that they are very able to see what's going on in my own personal life. They picked up on certain things. As a fun experiment with my female friend, I asked her to RV when I was back in Portland, certain locations that may be good for me to park. I mean, there was a point where it's like, literally, where should I park? And she was actually mapping out places where I'd already been, and she was picking up on my wave energy signature from certain areas in Portland. There was a reason why I was in Laurelhurst Park. Somehow my signal affecting the city of Portland was magnified in certain places. It was like subconsciously I was and am now drawn to certain places where my effect on this matrix with my consciousness is stronger than in other areas. And I believe this to be true for some of you. Back to the point I made about the city, these urban environments where, of course, there's easy access to Wi-Fi and internet, they're traps for the humans. The ELF pollution and cell phone towers and the smart meters that I'm constantly referencing. Somehow or another, the Archons are using these technologies to penetrate the dreams, the minds, and implant with false consciousness as many humans as they can. To follow up that with another, as wild as you might think this is, you've heard me discuss Costilla County and the cell phone towers. And there was a thought that I never finished in a recent video. I wonder why. I wonder why I forgot to finish that thought. There could come a time where having access to a place where cell phone towers don't reach could be a blessing. Meditate on that. And how do you know we aren't already in that period now? We're certainly moving into it. And so certain areas where you don't have access to internet or cell phone signals, in some ways that is a very precious, beautiful thing. Internet addiction has been obviously happening to a lot of people, including myself. I also am very accessible via email, Facebook, the comment section. It also hit me that perhaps, there are other mindful ways to be using the internet other than, the simple ways that I have. They want people, on the main corporate sites, Facebook, YouTube, Hotmail, Yahoo, Google+, Twitter, Pinterest, which I for some reason just don't even want to walk into that matrix. But I understand some people are using it. And so I think we've all seen how social media has worked in the last several years and how it's replaced normal human relationships. And therein lies the major problem, because it's a multi-pronged problem. Not just someone's physical and or genuine emotional needs for physical intimacy or real friends in their life, not just that. But when humans are removed from other loving humans, and then they're in front of the screen, this virtual reality, and I believe women in particular, because that same aspect that is believed to be more intuitive is the same part of the brain where the implants come through. I don't mean physical chips, which most people think about, and most people again think that they're being physically gang-stalked by a NSA unit. They refuse. Their Archonic programming is so embedded that Archon that has control of them will not allow them to discover what is actually targeting them, because the targets come from within. So the Archonic penetration of human thoughts also can come in the form of saying, and I'm speculating, but this is what I feel, it'll mimic your own thoughts. So I'm going to give you some examples. Alex is a piece of shit. Alex uses people. Alex actually is rich. Alex actually owns this house. This is actually an example of a comment that had come in one of my videos. Like, oh, you say you're homeless. Where are you now? Like, literally like, okay, we're going to try to affect you with this mild attack, but what I'm scratching my head at is I'm not feeling offended at all. Like, whoever's typing that is under the influence. Okay, whoever's typing that is under the influence. And really what I should have been doing the last 11 years is taking snapshots. Taking actual snapshots. And I actually did start about a month ago. I'm going to get back to some of the examples of implanted thoughts, especially when they're chanting through someone that is focusing hatred towards me. And all this the human body can feel. And people that are super sensitive, they're not super grounded, they can end up very stressed out and out of balance as a result of heightened sensitivity, going out, being on the map, and then coming under energy attack, not physical attack, energy attack. And anyone attacked energetically to the point where they're breaking can be told to kill themselves, but they will think it's their own thoughts. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. Those thoughts are rising. You know what? I don't want to keep coming back to a planet while it's under these types of circumstances. If things change, hey, I'd love to have a party on Earth. I'm going to change some of the negative things that I've said in the past, and let's say that positive affirmation. I have no problem coming back to Earth if some of this stuff will actually be resolved, whether it be several lifetimes or several generations. But as far as most people, they're not aware when their own thoughts are being hijacked. I want to kill myself. I want to drink. And then, of course, the hate and anger for no reason that they may harbor towards another human being that they may not realize they're developing a obsession with. Now we're in the age of YouTube and multimedia, and people are developing these obsessions with other individuals. And so they go about their day, they go to work, they go to 7-Eleven, they sell some computers at Best Buy or, Office Depot. They work in the building, they sell credit card insurance or life insurance. They get people into credit card debt. I remember I had a hater who was up in Denver working in a skyrise. And I'm like, wow, this guy's right in the middle of Archon Central. His career, and he has homes and properties and kids and family. He's got a little girl, he's got a little boy. but yet he's coming out of Denver. And he's got that Archon skyscraper consciousness. I'm going to get the credit card people into debt. Recently, he's been apologizing. You know, I'm not even getting involved with someone that said, go back to where you came from. Knowing in that moment of my weakness, on Christmas Day, 2013, where the female that I'm living with goes full Archon possession. Once she detoxes from some sort of a med, she turns to the alcohol. There's no marijuana. She won't admit the fact that she hasn't done the right footwork to find a good, affordable source of marijuana. Now she's going into a detox mode, and the Archons had full control over her consciousness that night. And I was blogging about it on Facebook that I needed to get out of there. And the next day, 4 angels in human form intervene. There is always a divine, overarching, protecting element of this dimension of reality that is far more powerful than the Archons. This is real. And you and I both have the ability to connect with that kind of energy. But if you're going to be running around, I understand that I'm trailing off in thoughts. If you're going to be running around hurting other people, if you're going to be running around ripping people off, engaging in poor business skills, that hand of protection will be removed. Watch my Portland video that's coming up that I recorded several days ago in the middle of the night when I came back all pumped up from my trip. And I'm talking about how people in Portland are willing that hand of protection to be lifted through their actions and deeds. And so many people may not know that their own thoughts are not their own. The title, Are Your Thoughts Your Own?, that I wrote in 2005. I only, I cited a few things that I found on the net, but it was in my own words and writing. I haven't written anything that in depth. Well, I've talked about solar flares. I have other written work. But for some reason, in that winter break of December 2005, I sat down and locked myself in a room for a couple of days at a new place I started renting, and the energy around me was clear enough that this article made it to rinse, and to this day, 11 years later, I still get contacted about an article I wrote called Are Your Thoughts Your Own? Mass Media Mind Control Through Network TV. Even InfoWars, even Alex Jones put it on his site before he became super sociopath, and there was still some good that he was doing. Before he became completely overtaken by the Archonic consciousness and the dark grid, which is obvious to anyone who is actually semi-intuitive or has common sense. That, if you put the old Alex Jones in a room with the new Alex Jones would try to arrange for the assassination of the old Alex Jones. It'd be, like Superman 3. And that is a very good analogy. Superman 3 and that fight between the Archon Superman and the real Superman. But in conclusion, this is actually just going to be an introduction to a larger topic. A lot of people don't know that their thoughts are not their own. So they could have some thoughts say, that guy's no good. Or, you know what, I don't like him. Or, wow, he looks like a predator of some type. Or someone that can't be trusted. And they don't know that the vibes, and this is how a lot of women are misled in general in this society. They don't necessarily know that the vibes they're getting are not necessarily their own. And I'm also convinced, through my experiences in Portland and very recently, that homes will come under Archonic attack. I can protect my own consciousness. I can't protect your consciousness from Archonic hijack. At least at this point, I don't believe that we have those kinds of superpowers. Just making sure the camera's still on and we still got battery power. We can ground ourselves and be centered and work on creating positive things to us, which I've done. But to also get into somebody else's mind and tell them, no, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. It's that person that has to have the willpower to see reality as it is. Okay? They. Everything else, whether it's done in positive or negative intent, is a violation of free will. And so, years have shown me that there's a certain amount of my audience which is targeted. and they're almost given an implant, hang around the guy, say positive things a few times, and when things get negative, then explode and let loose the rockets. Right now, energetically, I'm feeling good. Why is there not like a bomb of trolls? We'll just call it trolls, the general term I'm not a big fan of, that are actually controlled by Archonic consciousness. Why is Archonic consciousness not going to town on my channel this second? Because this second I feel physically strong. This second my aura is strong. This second I'm not chain smoking. I'm not drinking cup of coffee after cup of coffee. I'm planning to eat some food pretty soon. Unlike other times where I've starved myself drinking coffee, our physical health plays a role also in that health of that field. When the field is weakened, somehow or another, if we're under surveillance from them, they know where the holes are, where the weaknesses are. And of course, I've also shared, as many of you know, a plethora of information about my emotional body, or about my self and my past, my hopes and my fears and desires. I have opened up my heart, and as a result, I've come under attack. But because of the good work that I've done, there's a certain amount of protective energy and people on the Christ grid, angels. My friend Kelly, in spirits, like that guy just got led into a trap. And those females on that property were obviously very easy to be affected archonically. It was like, the daughter and the mother, it's like, I got this feeling you don't like me or trust me. And when the daughter asks me where I'm from, again, I'm going to wonder, when I say I'm from Oregon, are they asking me that because certain human beings can pick up on the fact that half of my genetics comes from a part of the East, also known as the Middle East, during a time where there was mind control, comparing Muslims to Middle Eastern people and terrorists, and blurring the line between terrorism and Middle Eastern people, using the Muslim buzzword, associating this with this and this with this, so you have this bullshit, this Archonic wave here. Muslim people might be Muslims, might be terrorists. That is the Archon narrative. And I live in a world that most of you do not. And I say that in this video with calmness and acceptance and love. Some of you do not have the consciousness to detect the Archonic realms. You haven't shown yourselves to actually understand that there are others that are Archonically infected with that which we may call racism. Just because you, in your current perspective of things, sees me a certain way, maybe in a positive light, that doesn't mean that I'm not out there in the real Archonic world. Just because you cannot conceive doesn't mean that it isn't taking place. And just because some of us may be Archonically infected with misperceptions, with damaged six chakras or intuition, which many people in this society are, it doesn't mean that you should beat yourself up. Oh my God, I'm Archonically affected. Alex said so. He said I'm going to burn in hell. I never said you're going to burn in hell. I think that being born into this type of a hell, a purgatory, maybe an in-between world between heaven and hell, is a world where we coexist with the angels and demons. And you also meet many human beings along the road that are obviously angels or demons or a little bit of both. They're struggling. They've got that angel, they've got that devil, and it's going on both sides. And women are worked all the time, in particular in their relationships. Men are worked all the time, in particular in their relationships. Both men and women, both women and men, behind the male, female, behind the genitalia, behind the sex, you have spirit. And did we choose to come into a world of duality in order to rise out of the duality, in order to return to the great reality? I often, in my imagination, think so. I speak for myself. I do not speak from spiritual texts. I speak in my own tongue. I speak in my own words, and I am in my creativity. And there are times in my life where I've been knocked out of my creativity, and I've been punished for speaking about certain things. Now I'm realizing, once you go on the path to educating other humans about how Archons control them, and you're on the true path of trying to help liberate them without bringing in channeling and without bringing in things that could be destructive or recommending that people take. You have never seen me recommend ayahuasca, because a certain amount of the people that have taken ayahuasca have ended up having deep conversations with other entities, archonic entities, I believe, that have gotten deep inside their mind. I'm not going to cite names. There's a few people that have discussed ayahuasca that went very archonic, and something happened to their heart center. Their perspective of things is, of course, very, very different, because their perspective of things is a perspective where something else has a hold of them. And I am also not going to demonize any potential therapeutic uses of ayahuasca, because they may be there. There are some therapeutic uses of certain substances that can open up our channels in our perceptions of reality. But people that are not grounded as they were to begin with, those that perhaps already had an inner Archon toying with things, then that's going to open up the door, and that inner Archon's going to bring in his or her friends. And they do. They do come in female form. The Archon archetype is in no way exclusively male or female. And I'll never forget a time where I was going through heavy Archonic attack when I tried to help a few gentlemen start the Portland Preparedness Center. That was the peak of my Archonic attack in Portland in that 2011 period. I mean, when I was homeless the last time, I may have been homeless living in a tiny home on wheels, doing an Access TV show talking about the urban blight and the real social zombie apocalypse of the real Portlandia. And people may have been getting that Archon implant. Oh, that guy's no good. He's homeless. He's mentally ill. He's negative. He doesn't see the light that you see. He's negative. That's why he's homeless. This is like a script. It's like a record player that is beamed with technology larger than the technology that exists in the grid. It's spiritual warfare, and again, it's a level that most people think they're being gang-stalked by actual humans that will scream. I had a guy literally that was screaming at me that there was a team of 50 to 100, and everybody in my life was an actor. And it was very sad, because I've actually known very few people from Afghanistan, from that area, that have come across my work. Like, we're talking about real Middle Eastern people. And this guy was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs all the way. And then when I did that video exposing how gang stalking is really Archonic interference, never sent an email one more time. That's control. There are people that come into my life pretending to be friends because they're sent in to create circumstances that could create emotional turmoil. There are some people that have donated money, a little bit of money, just to get inside my head and keep me on the computer all day long, getting to my next point, talking to them and appeasing their emotions and meeting their demands and reading the books that they want me to read and watching the videos that they want me to, and agreeing with every one of their reviews as they take a new take and they go from saying, wow, we really respect your work, that's how we found you, to everything that you're saying, Alex, is wrong. Everything that you're saying, Alex, is wrong. Hey, but I love your channel. Wow, amazing stuff, Gnostic stuff. Whoa, but everything, Alex, that you're saying is wrong. And they're not able to see the multiple personality. They think it's still the same personality. They think that it's still them. They don't realize that there's a being actually in their space. So in this concluding thought, with technology and Facebook, you have people that are more connected, even though they may not be physically together. There's something about the electric cables, as my sensitive friend has been, she wrote a lot of stuff this morning that I really think should be put into an article, and maybe even a website could be developed. Maybe one of you wants to volunteer, who's not archonically infected, who's also a web developer. We have to push forward. Let me conclude this video with how we educate people now in this modern day and age of technology, of how their thoughts can be influenced, and how things like Facebook and Facebook addiction and looking constantly into that screen. You know, there's a day where we may have looked into water, where we may have gazed into mirrors for knowledge and information, and now it's done through the screen. Now, for the super sensitive and intuitive, especially if they're grounded, they can gain maybe something very positive from that experience, especially if they're educating others. Looks like I have about 1 minute left, so I'm going to have to conclude this. But it's another example, it's another situation for people that are living on the internet whose thoughts are not their own, that are being completely programmed, and in many cases by fake news. So we're going to come back and talk about this in part 2 as I charge the battery. Stay tuned.